and welcome to the No Taboo Woo Woo Show.
I'm Sandra Logan.
And I'm Gail Chisholm.
If you enjoy being a fly on the wall of deep and meaningful conversations between pals on all things spirituality, healing and personal empowerment, then you have landed in the right podcast.
Enjoy today's episode.
Hello.
Welcome.
It's our first video.
I know. It's
our first video of the pod. It's only been a year coming.
This is
we literally just looked at the dates and it's been a year now of the
I
No Taboo
know,
Woo Woo
it's been
show.
a year.
I feel like pat ourselves on the back. That's a good accomplishment.
It is, because did you not say that, like, you read some stats? Is it not if you get beyond episode 20 that actually, because, like, you know, it's not as much as this is the fun part, the editing, which I don't do, Sandra does all of that, but like the distribution, the editing, all of the other bits and bobs take a bit of time. So
yeah.
But we love it so much. We're progressing and doing more things.
I know. Look at us go. I'm sure it was like if you published 21 episodes, you were in the top like 1% of podcasters. I'm sure that was the stat, if I remember it correctly from Google. I know. If I had hair, I'd be swishing it right now.
That is pretty mental, isn't it?
It's cool though.
Top 1% of podcasters.
I know.
Wait till we're in like the top 10 of actual podcasts. It's been a couple of weeks since we actually recorded a podcast. In fact,
it has.
So we shall we do the card first, just in memory
Yeah.
to commemorate that actually, you know, so because we have video. So I pulled from the whatchamacallit deck. I'm saying a lot of M's today. It's the First Aid for Broken Hearts Tarot by Nonara, which actually the episode that's just been released references, because this was one of my finds on Vinted. But I really do love the cards. Actually, I've just gone to the Princess of Pentacles, which looks so beautiful. It's like a lovely, so pinky with the zebra. Anyway, the artwork is beautiful. Yeah, she was on a zebra. Actually, this is a zebra too. So the card that came out today, just asking like, what would me and Sandra and new people listening like to hear about, or what would serve us well today? What is the message? And the message today is the Chariot. And the Nonara, this card deck, under each of them has, I know it tells you that there's an image that the card it is, and then there's a little statement around the card, and so it's the Chariot, and it's move forward with determination, leave the past behind. And now I can actually hold it up to camera, and if you're watching, you're going to be able to see it. But I think we are still going to be, I know. So I think we are still doing audio over. So if you are on the audio only, I'll describe the card. And it's this young lady. She's got her hair brown hair in a ponytail. She's wearing a very sort of muted red dress, but she's got a butterfly and she's sitting on a zebra. And then it actually, just like looking at the card, it looks like, I was like, is it leaves or butterflies? I think it might be little flowers or something that look like they're blowing on the wind. And then there is a moon, and then she's on like the ground with some blue flowers and a little bit of fog. But I think that's the bit around like with the moving forward with determination. Like the zebra looks like very much like we're going this way, and is, you know, head held high. And it's interesting, the person on the zebra is obviously being carried forward and does look a little bit sad's not the right word. Reflective is maybe a better expression of her face. And she's holding the butterfly. I will, because I know you'll probably be able to tell me what the butterflies symbolize or what they mean to you. But just that moving forward, and it's like things are like the phrase in my head is like, it's stuff's like blowing on the wind, and it's like it's the wind is also removing the stuff that doesn't serve you. You know, like when you stand and like if you're in the wind and it blows against your face and it just sort of like wakes you up. Not like blowing a total hoolie or a gale. My superpower is the wind. But just that one where, you know, when you're feeling a bit, I would describe it as like, you know, when if you had like a hangover, but let's not do the hangover one. Let's say, you know, if you're just feeling a bit, you've been feeling in a funk, you've been feeling a bit down, and you're like, let's just go out and get some fresh air. And you know, when you just feel the wind on your face, the cleansing.
Yeah, I literally texted you the other day saying that I'm going for a potter around to blow the cobwebs off. That's kind of what it's given.
That's the phrase.
Yeah. Blowing the cobwebs off.
What's coming up for you with the the chariot be the kind of language that's underneath it and see the butterflies or the flowers? What is coming to you?
Well, confession, everyone, I requested this deck today. As Gail to pull from this deck. Actually, interestingly, because I do edit the podcast, it was fresh in my mind because it was from last week. So I was like, oh, this is also very relevant for me. I'm now riding solo in pegs. I say solo, but I've got Freddie who's asleep on the front seat. But I have just gone through a breakup. And so the card to me is like super relevant and really resonates about the determination to like move forward into the next chapter. And what's really interesting is, like, for me anyway, just now, I've left Cornwall. I'm currently in Dorset on the Jurassic Coast. I'll get to that more in a minute because that's so cool here. If you've never been to the Jurassic Coast and love rocks, then come here. But I'm currently, like, I've left Cornwall, and I feel like because I'm like on a journey and I'm headed to Europe and I'm making my way along Gail along the way, which will be bloody lovely. But I'm actually on a physical journey, which feels like it's moving me away from the past and into a new chapter. So it feels like personally just now that I'm in this like transitional period of life where I have just let go of something that was really important to me, and it's really hard, and there's a lot of emotions involved, and there's a lot of releasing, like, of energy and of the past, and it's almost like closing the door on that chapter to enable another door to open. So it kind of, it's, do you know, the vision that's just popped into my head is like, do you know when you're in a corridor and there's lots of different doors and you've just come out of one and you've closed that door, but the other doors, it's almost like when you're at a doctor's surgery and you're like going to your appointment, but you're like, which door's next? Like, it's almost like that. Like, I kind of know where I'm headed, but I don't know what the fuck is on the other side. So it's very much like I'm in this state just now of like surrender and trust, and it's very new for me not to be in surrender and trust, but to this extent, because I really feel like I've made the choices that I've made recently because I'm following my heart, and it feels really hard because there's a lot of like mind monkeys coming in. And that's the thing, when you follow your heart, it's never going to make logical sense, and as much as you try to like look at it from all these different directions in your head, you can't quite find the answer, and it requires so much courage and trust because there's so much uncertainty. I'm getting soul shivers with that. Like, I mean, life is uncertain as it is, but when you follow your heart without any assurances that things are going to pan out the way that you hope, and you're running on hope and on faith, it is a complete leap of faith, and it takes so much courage. And I keep reminding myself of that in the moments that I'm feeling really low and it's like I'm struggling with, like it feels lonely, like it feels quiet. And when I'm in those moments, I'm like, Sandra, you're doing something really brave. You're doing something really brave. And it's a huge shift for me. Yeah. It's a huge transition. And it's like the butterflies that you talked about is so funny because as I was coming to this park up today for the pod, I was sat at the traffic lights and a butterfly flew right past the windscreen. It's like the 30th of October. Aww. And there's still butterflies. And I felt like I was just meant to see that. To me, they totally symbolise transformation and the beauty in it. I mean, I could go into like so much depth with the butterfly, but you know, they go through a cocoon phase. They don't just naturally come out as a butterfly. They go through this really tough time and they struggle in that, and they struggle to get out of the cocoon. And it's in that struggle that they build their strength. And there's so much beauty in that if we allow ourselves to just surrender to the fact that it's fucking hard, that it feels painful, that it's not always easy. If we can just surrender to that and we keep on spreading our wings, flapping our wings and trying to push out of the cocoon, we will get out and we will fly. And it's trusting that that's going to happen, that you're not going to just come out of your cocoon and fall flat on your face. The Chariot tells us that we're moving through challenges, but we're guided. We're guided by our higher selves. We're guided by our intuition and our spirit team and the universe. Like, we're not in it alone. And even if you feel alone on the journey, you're never alone. Nature is around us to remind us of that as well. Like, that card is just so relevant to me. It'd be really interesting to hear from people out there how it resonates and if anything about my story resonates for you. But I feel like the Chariot is probably the perfect card for me, and actually it's a really beautiful reminder that it's like confirmation on the journey, right? That it's like the choices that we make, when we make them from the heart, they're always the right choice. And even if it's a hard choice to make, it's like, it's nice to have that confirmation and that reassurance that leave the past in the past. And even if it hurts, even if that's hard, keep moving forward and with determination. Determination was the word I took. Was that what was on the card?
Yeah.
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 So
I
like
think that,
that to
and
me is
interestingly,
important.
like, yeah, and this chariot in this deck is a slower pace. Like, you know how some chariot decks, it's like it can feel quite
Yeah.
fast and like gung ho almost energy, whereas this is feels a more like, and the fact that the sort of the determination, it's, you know, it's still it's forward movement. It doesn't have to be like you're suddenly like heading off and not having any, you're not stopping. And sometimes with the chariot, it can be like it's such a hurried energy, it feels that it can be not thought through. Whereas this card feels,
Yeah.
this representation of the chariot feels, you know, it's like forward progress, irrespective of how fast or slow you're going, but with
Yeah.
being more conscious around that. It's not, so it's like you're making choices and you're taking ownership of that direction. So, but there is a degree of trust, and even if that taking ownership is like trusting to follow your intuition, because you know the girl that's on the zebra, you know, it's like she's letting the zebra take her, because sometimes in that moving forward with determination is you might not necessarily have that energy to know exactly where your end goal is, but it just to
Yeah.
remove you out of the current situation and
It's
to be
giving me soul
guided to let.
shivers.
Yeah. The other thing I just wanted to say that did come up when you were talking about butterflies was the other thing around, obviously it's transformation and change, but the thing that popped into my head was it's almost like follow the butterflies, and not the real, but not the physical butterflies, but you know how sometimes we get excited about things, and it's like, you know, when we move forward, it's actually what excites you, what lights you up, what gives you butterflies. So it's almost
Yeah.
like an intuitive progression forward, which I know has
It's
nothing
reminding
to
me
do with
of
the
the,
classic
you know, when
interpretation
playing,
of it.
yeah, but I love that. And it reminds me of, you know, in Playing Big, they talk about the two different types of fear and how there's the fear that feels expansive as opposed to the fear that feels constrictive. That's what it's reminding me of. Is it Yira? The one is that it's
Yeah,
expansive.
that's the expansive, where it's like feel the fear and do it anyway, and
Mm,
where you've got those little excited bubbly bits in the nervous tummy and you're like, oh, but actually you know deep down that that's an excitement and a fear to follow. It's not the pushad, which is
yeah.
more of the like let's protect ourselves from attack. But it does feel a bit
And
more
stay in
of
the
that
safe
sort of
zone,
energy.
which is
And
Pachad,
sometimes we
which I,
do need a bit of guidance to take us forward rather than, you know, just sort
yeah,
of blindly go ahead.
yeah. What's under the deck?
Well, so the Six of
Have you
Wands is at
shuffled
the
it?
bottom. No, I haven't. I did
Oh,
look at the bottom of the deck.
success.
Yeah, so and it's this is like a young man on, it looks like he's swinging through bamboo with, there's like little sunflowers, and it's got cherish the moment of glory, your labor has been seen and rewarded. So that goes back to me where you were saying about it's like trust the what you're being guided to. Um and then under that
Yeah.
is the devil, which is let go of defenses and free yourself, and then the tower. So it's sort of like, you know, there's
Wow.
been an awful lot of like big moments, but it's like trust that you've done. To me, I'm like, that's like trust that like you've gone through some of this shit and this hard stuff, and it's like trust that that's happening, and then it's like move
Mm,
forward with it. Don't dwell in that, because otherwise, well, we know what happens if you just sit and be stuck.
yeah, yeah. And to me, that Six of Wands is given like proper like Tarzan vibes, and it's funny to
Yes.
come that having the devil underneath it because it's like you're swinging away and you're free. You're free from the shackles of the past and from the fears and from all of the limiting thoughts and all of that kind of stuff. Like you're freeing yourself from it. That's really beautiful. That's really
Mm.
beautiful. Thank you for that, Gail. Thank you. I needed that
Well,
message.
it's interesting because you know I know that like this is the first aid for broken hearts, and I know that there's a you're going through, you know, that split and the that kind of the change that comes with that. But then, like, you know, this also is a reminder, like, for me, obviously, I'm not going through a breakup or anything, but you know, there's lots of things at the moment around is that kind of where's next. And even if we think about, you know, we've been talking about where's next with pod and stuff, and it's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's about let's progress forward. And even just from my own self, it's like leaving some of those past things. When it says like leave things in the past, it could even be maybe how I've spoken to myself or what I've maybe the labels I've attached to myself. I quite often, like we talk about when I've worked in like financial services before, and I'm really keen that I don't, and you know that's it very much in the past. So sometimes this is a reminder just to keep moving forward with determination, and that career choice is
Yeah.
in the past. And like sometimes things,
Yeah.
you know, they benefit from staying in the past, and we can be grateful for the memory, we can be grateful for what it gave us, but it doesn't need to be in your present.
Yeah. Mic
It's a
drop.
lovely deck, that one, though, isn't it? Mic drop. Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Um, this is
So
such a
much
nice
change
deck.
over the
I've not
last few
played
weeks.
with it for
It's
a
been
bit.
wild.
It's been a bit mental, hasn't it?
It has been
Can I tell you
mental.
what the second card is? So this is the card underneath the chariot, and I think this is probably just more for a message for. I feel this is a message for us, which is followed up from our conversation. So this is just a private moment, listeners.
Cover your ears.
The next card that's underneath is the Three of Cups, and it's the collaboration is a mutual success. Celebrate the velocity of progress, which actually, I suppose, actually for the listeners out there, the fact we're on video is velocity of progress. But
Fucking
I just
right.
wanted to share that because
Yeah.
obviously we were chatting about some other things. So yeah,
I love
that's what's
that.
underneath too. So
That's
tell
so
us about
nice.
the Jurassic Coast. Every time you say that you're there, I'm like dinosaurs.
It's so fucking cool down here. Do you know, I was coming across and I was going to go to Lyme Regis. That's one of like the biggest spots here to go. And so as a result, it is absolutely heaving. And I think this is still the October holidays. So I'm
Yeah, it's
pretty sure the
half
schools
term
are
in
still off. But
England.
anyway, it was heaving. And I was coming down, and like if you've listened to the pod, you know Peggy is 7.2 meters long. She's not an easy bird to park. Coming in, I was like, I can't get parked. But as soon as I came down the hill into Lyme Regis, the views, literally I was like, like it was one of those views that just takes your breath away because it's so stunning. The water is beautiful. The coastline is just like, there's nowhere else quite like it. It's absolutely stunning. And there's no
Hmm.
dinosaurs around, but you can just feel the energy of like the past. I say the past, but like ancient energy. So I was really glad that I went that route and came through Lyme Regis, but I ended up going to Charmouth, which is like the next place. I think it's a village next to it. It's really small, but it's easier to
Hmm.
park and there's access down to the beach and stuff. So I spent a couple of nights there, and it was so funny because I went down the first day, and as I was walking along the beach, like there was hundreds of people around, and firstly I was like, this is really cool that so many people are interested in rocks. I was like, fuck yeah. I feel like either you're a rock person or you're not a rock person, and I was like, here are my people. There's Freddie saying hello to the dog that's passing by. And so there was loads of people there collecting rocks and fossil hunting and stuff. But what was also really interesting was how many people had hammers. Like hammering, you're not meant to hammer around the rock side because there's also like landslides and stuff, but there was loads of people doing it,
Right.
and kids with hammers smashing up rocks on the beach and stuff like that. I thought it struck me as really interesting how like this fascination that we have with the past, with history, and with what came before us and stuff. And I was reflecting a lot as I was like walking along, because I was kind of like, I was just feeling like I just want to get away from the crowd. So I was walking further along the beach to like go to the quieter part, which meant walking for ages. But as I was doing it, I was thinking it's so interesting. It's like, I suppose everybody's on the search for something that adds more value to their life and more interest, and to, I suppose, help like give a bit more understanding to why we're here and what happened before we arrived here, and yeah, like all the history. Like for me, yeah, I'm interested in the history and I'm interested in the fossils. I think that they're really cool, but they're not the thing that like properly light me up about rocks. I love to find rocks that have like faces or animals in them. Like I'm very visual, and I'll look like not necessarily looking for a certain kind of fossil shapes and all different kinds of things. I'll show you as an
Yeah.
example, right? So I found By the way, one of my first reasons for going to the Jurassic Coast was actually to let go of some rocks that I'd picked up last year. I was trying to like make room in the van and let go of some like physical weight, because if I got stopped on a wee bridge, they'd be like, why the fuck do you have so many rocks when you live in a van? So anyway, I was like, I'll go to the Jurassic Coast to return them back to where they came from, because they don't belong on any other beach. So I'd taken a whole bag of rocks, right? And lovingly let them go, and it pained me to say goodbye to them because they were beautiful rocks. But anyway, because there was one in particular, I'll tell you. I don't know if I ever showed you this one, Gail, but it had been cracked in two parts, and I'd found one of them at one side of a beach, and it was white rock, almost like a calcite, and in it had a little brown dog. It was like it literally looked like Freddy. It literally looked like Freddy in the rock, right? So I picked it up.
Did you not keep that one?
No, I didn't. It brought me so much joy though, right? And I held on to this rock, and as I was walking to the other side of the beach, there was the other side of the rock. So I had the two halves that fitted like perfectly. But I'm not joking, they were like the size of my hands. Like I needed two whole hands to hold it. It was a big rock. So instead, I've taken some pictures, and if I remember, I'll share it in the show notes, because I was like, that's really cool. So that was one of the ones that I let go of. But when I was there a couple of days ago, I found, so there's loads and loads and loads of hagstones, right? Hagstones seem to find me everywhere, every beach that I go to. And I already have a hagstone hanging over my bed. If you don't know about hagstones,
do you want to share what a hagstone is?
Yeah,
in case
so they're
people
great
don't
protectors. A hagstone is a stone that is like naturally formed a hole that you can see like right through the stone. And sometimes they'll have like one, sometimes they'll have multiple ones. So they are like protectors. And it was said that back in the day that if you looked through it, you could see through to different realms. So you could see through to like the fairies, and you could see witches who were in disguise, and like it's basically like something to protect you and ward off negative or evil spirits type thing. So yeah, I have one hanging over my bed already, and I have a couple of others. But I was down there and I saw this one, right? And also it's Halloween tomorrow. I was like, how apt is the timing of this? Look, it's like a little it's like a little
I was going to
ghost.
say it looks like a ghost.
I know. And this one has got two hagstones in it, so I don't know if you can quite see through, but there's two, and that one
That's
goes right
so
through as well.
cool.
So I was like, that is so cool. So I got my little ghosty on Charmouth Beach. Also, I'm just gonna like find my other rocks that I've got back here. There's so many that I was like, oh god, I've just like literally replaced everything. I should have had these prepared earlier. But here we are. The other one that I found that I thought was really cool, this is fossilized wood. And as I held it up, that's kind of like what the Jurassic Coast looks like. It's really cool.
Right.
It's very dramatic looking. So that was a really nice find.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a really cool piece of fossilized wood. You think that was just wood and now it's stone. It blows my mind.
Yeah, the citrine circle, which I did name check a couple of episodes ago, where I went and got my moldavite and some other things. They have some fossilized wood, and they also have some fossils and things in there. But how cool to actually find it yourself rather than it just being in a shop.
On the beach, like, so cool. I just said beach, and Freddie looked up like, is his favourite place.
Are we going?
This one as well. This reminded me of a dinosaur head. So that's another one.
Yeah.
Another hagstone. Like, look, how cool is that? I was like, that really does look like a dinosaur head. That brought me joy. And then I also found this, which I was like, it's like a rose. It's like an actual rose. It's a stone. And
that's cool.
It's flint. It's flintstone. It's flintstone. Read the Flintstones.
Read the Flintstones.
So the stone, like, it was a really cool synchronicity, because the night before, every night I pull a card. This is part of like my nighttime routine ritual, that I will pull a card either from the Sacred Rebels Oracle deck or from the Rumi deck. They're really, really beautiful messages. The night before, I'd pulled a card from the Rumi deck, and it was Rose of Ma, I think it was called. And the message was, it was like basically letting go of one thing to make space for something that is better aligned for you, is how I'll sum up that. So when I saw this, I was like, it just felt like a little gift from the universe to be like, it's just a reminder that there's something else awaiting you in the future, and it's okay, we're with you, you're not alone. So I was like, that is really, really beautiful. And then also, I don't know if, no, the other one I think is in a bag somewhere, but I found another one that looks like it has a rose on it. And I did end up bringing that home. It is a beast, but I wanted to keep it, so I'm keeping it for now. It's coming on the journey, the next leg. So there we go. That's my finds. Also, then yesterday I went back because there is a museum at Charmouth. And I was like, I'm going to go, because actually I'd bumped into somebody at a campsite, and they recommended it. They said it's really good. And they'd taken their dog in. And then when I went yesterday, I was like, the guy was really lovely at the door and was like, hello, welcome. It's like a little free museum. And I said, hello. I said, just to check, are you okay with dogs? He said, oh, actually, no, I didn't spot him. We're not allowed dogs in here. And I text Gail because I said that was enough to set me off yesterday. So I went down and had a bubble by the beach. It was just one of those moments where I was like, fuck, it just felt like, you know, when you have somebody, like, you know, as a dog owner, when you're a couple and you can take turns to watch the dog, it makes life a bit easier. So it was one of those moments. But anyway, what they do let you do is take your dog into the shop where you can buy stuff. So I was like, okay, so you can't take your dog into the free museum, but you can take them in and buy stuff. So anyway, part of me was like, don't go into the rock shop, Sandra. And then I was like, I can't not go. Like, I can't not go. And so I did go. And they've got some amazing, amazing crystals and stones. A lot of them they have found locally. Other ones, like the one that I picked up, I haven't bought myself a crystal for ages. And this is from Madagascar. And it is a bit of labradorite. And I don't know if you can see in it, right? But the purple in here, I have never seen so much. Like, look at that. Oh my God. It's stunning.
That's lovely. Got some raw labradorite. I was like, 'cause it's not, when it's not polished, it's not as shiny, but I feel like they're so, the colours that you see in are just lovely, isn't it?
Oh, they're beautiful. And I have a bit of a raw piece of it already. That was one of the first crystals that I ever bought, like, online years ago. But this one just spoke to me, and so it is now staying in a little pouch with my pendulum. They're going to be bommas now, so that's nice. Got a little companion because I keep my pendulum in this little pouch, this little purple pouch. So yeah, they're going to be besties from now on, which is really cool. So yeah, that's my finds. That's my show and tell for you from the Jurassic Coast so far. So it's been really nice to see.
Yeah. And in terms of, obviously, you know, going through a breakup and some heartache and things, tools have you been leaning on? I know you were talking, like, obviously you do your card pull and everything, and something like your rocks and everything, but is there anything that you've found that's been like of particular support, like, I suppose, to help with like the emotions and your sort of spiritual energy and things like that?
To be honest, the biggest thing that I feel like has supported me so far has been nature.
Right.
Sitting down at the beach and just watching the waves, and I got my feet in the sand and in the stones. I did end up with a bloody sore one on the bottom of my right foot. This was another synchronicity. So I kept having, like, while I was doing work on the van in the last couple of weeks, I've had like 3 injuries on my right foot. I'd like kicked a wire brush, and if anybody knows what a wire brush is or has used one, that was brutal. A bit of wood fell on it, like a beam of wood fell on my right foot, and there was something else. And I was like, what the fuck is this about? Why do I keep like kicking my, why am I hurting my
Right
right
side
foot?
is masculine.
I know,
Isn't it?
right? And then I was going through my books because I was like, I had this massive plastic box full of books, and I was going through, because I've basically been sorting through everything that I own and whittling it down to what I want, need, or brings me joy. And one of the books in there is a book called Signs by Denise somebody, and I picked up the book and I was like, okay, and the number 47 came into my head. So I was like, right. So I went to 47, and on that page there's a bit talking about when you like are in an accident or when you injure yourself, and it gave the example of when you hurt your foot, and I was like, no fucking way. And then on that same page it's like, for more information on the foot, go to the directories page. So I go to the directories page, And on there, it goes into more in depth about if you hurt your foot. And there's various different meanings, but the one that resonated for me at the time was about moving forward, like stepping forward into the next phase of my life. Because then I was like sort of in this in between, like we talked about breaking up, like we were in the breakup phase, but we were still living together while things were getting sorted out and everything. And it was like taking a few weeks for that process to kind of happen. And so I felt like it's almost like the sign to take the step forward and to like actually take the leap of faith. So that's what it spoke of to me. But I thought it was a really cool synchronicity, and it was like I sat there for a moment. I was like, thank you, intuition, because it was like you just know things. And it was a reminder that sometimes you don't know how you know, but you just know things. And when you're quiet enough to like listen to those signs and to actually follow them, then you receive the answers. And it was just such a cool little synchronicity. So I've still got the book in the box, and there's loads of things in it. I think I'll use it more like you would use a thesaurus or like a dictionary or something, where not that I've ever used a thesaurus or a dictionary, but you know how some people would be like, oh, look up, you've got one, haven't you? I remember seeing on your bookshelf.
I love a thesaurus. I think I've got three thesauruses by accident, not really but it's because I think I had one, and then when I was renting, when I was having we were at the trial separation back in like 2019. I was doing work on with the desire map, which is something which is how I work out my core values or feelings. And so I find a thesaurus is really good, because sometimes a word will pop into our head, or like where I was trying to explain, like the lady, like the first word that came into my head was sadness, but I was like, that's not really what I mean, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Also, menopause brain means that a thesaurus is quite helpful because you can start with the thing that's popping into your head and actually find what really resonates for you. And then also we have about the Brene Brown thesaurus of like the Atlas to the Heart. But
Yeah.
I was just looking actually because I thought a lot of my books are not here. They're in storage in boxes. But I was having a look to see if because I have it's like a metaphysical dictionary. It's not a dictionary, but it's like when you said like, so if you're feeling something in your body, like if there's a pain or whatever, you can look up the body part and what's happening, and it can tell you the sort of like the potential metaphysical thing that's going on,
That's
rather
cool.
than
Yeah.
just taking some paracetamol or whatever. So I was like, I wonder what it says about the right foot. And then often what's quite useful is it gives you some prompts or things to help you navigate the metaphysical side of things.
Yeah.
But I don't have it here. It's back in Scotland.
Well, once you get your paws on it, you can tell me. I'll have
I
stopped
mean, to be
putting my
honest, I
foot
think
in.
the fact that you're moving forward with determination will mean that you'll probably stop hurting your right foot.
Yeah. Isn't it so funny though, these things, and how everything's so interconnected as well? It's wild.
Yeah.
Really, really wild. But back to your original question around what supported me, I would say nature, getting outside, and like you were saying about getting the wind in your face, and just like allowing yourself to move. And even if you feel like you're not like moving forward in life, like you're literally, and you're walking, you're moving, and grounding myself, getting my feet in nature. The other thing that has helped me has been tapping. That's something that really helps me to come back into my body when I'm feeling like emotionally overwhelmed, or when I'm struggling with like an emotion that it feels really heavy. And it's like something that I found myself like coming back to is a phrase, I'm allowed to feel XYZ. And it's almost
Yeah.
like in that moment where I'm like feeling something that feels really uncomfortable, just reminding myself that I'm allowed to feel this way. I think that sometimes when we make choices, like the choice that I've made to leave a relationship, some people could look at it and go, well, you made that choice, so you should be okay, or you should be XYZ. But it's not the way. Like there are still emotions that come with it, and there's still grief that comes with it. And I feel like when the mind monkeys come in and tell me that I should feel a certain way, or that I should have done this, or I should do this, or whatever, is just like coming back to how am I feeling at this moment, and saying, okay, that's how I feel, and I'm allowed to feel this way. It's okay to feel this. Like literally speaking it and giving myself permission in that moment to feel what I need to feel, and just giving myself the space to process it, instead of like running away from it or trying to escape it or being like, no, I've just been processing it. And I've got back into writing because I've not been journaling at all over the last sort of couple of months, like every now and again. And as you know, that's been like a steady practice of mine over the years. And so I've found myself getting back into that, and that's helped just get like some of the shit going on in my head, like down on paper.
Yeah.
And like I've still been doing my meditation and stuff, and I did a really cool one last night, connecting with my ancestors, which was a new one for me actually. Like, not that I've never connected with my ancestors, but I don't often like make the time to intentionally connect with them in meditation. So that was really cool. And loads of cool stuff, like seemingly random stuff came in, but I'm like, that could make sense if I knew more information. Like, for example, I saw a man, because I basically asked them to introduce themselves to me, because some of these are ancestors that I've never met or I've never heard of. I've never done a family tree myself, so I don't really know much about my ancestors. And so I was like, introduce yourselves, like say hello, it would be nice to meet you. And so I saw, like, it started off with like the bottom of a man, not the bum, but like the bottom half of a man, and I saw the trousers and the boots and the shirts, and he was wearing a cap, and he had this really cheeky smile on his face. His name's Tam, and I placed him as like in his 70s. So Scottish, isn't it, Tam? And I placed him in his 70s, and I was like, is there anything else you want to like tell me or anything like that? There was nothing immediately coming through, but he seemed like a really warm man. Like the energy, like it felt like, because I hugged him in the vision, and I felt like it was like a grandfather kind of energy, but it wasn't my grandfather. And so there was that, and then there was loads of like little bits and pieces that came through. So like sugared almonds was something that came through, the name Annie. I was seeing like visions of like different people, but like not having the names connected to them. Yemen came through, and I was like, Yemen? Tell me more about Yemen. Because one of the questions that I'd asked was, what were the things that brought you joy? And the reason that I asked that was because I thought, if there are things there that I could do like in my day-to-day as like a gift, or if there's like, so sugared almonds, for example, there's something I could probably get my hands on and give them as like a gift to my ancestors. So there's like little things like that I thought, or if there's like places that they liked, or like Yemen is not somewhere that I'm planning to go anytime soon, but I was like, Yemen, I was like, that's a funny one. And that came in after the question of like, what were the things that you loved? And with Yemen, it came in as boat. And I was like, that's interesting. I was like, Yemen, boat. And I was like, which one of my ancestors would have ever gone to Yemen? And then it was after the meditation.
Did you have anyone in the Navy?
Well, this was the thing, right? I didn't know about, so in 1829, I think it was, there was like an invasion of the Brits to take over part of Yemen. And I didn't know that had taken place. And so when I got onto Google and started like looking some stuff up, the other thing that came in was Dalmeny. So Dalmeny, there's family connections that I was aware of Dalmeny, but I didn't know of any family or ancestors that were buried there. And so that came in really strongly, and I like had heavy soul shivers, and I was like, is somebody buried there? So anyway, after I come off and I'm like, right, let the energy settle. And then I was like, I'm too curious. Like, I have to look stuff up on Google, right? So then I'm looking up on Google. I was like, Tam. So he would have been a Thomas. So I was like, is there a Thomas buried? And I was like, I don't even know if there's like directories for like who's buried in certain like plots. Turns out there is. There's a directory for Dalmeny Kirk. And I was like, this is so cool. You'd know this, Gail. I should have asked you. And so I was like, I looked up Thomas, and there's a Thomas Smith. Now my nan was a Smith. And so I was like, is Thomas Smith the one? And I don't know 100%, right? But when I looked at the dates, he was 71 when he died. And I'd seen him in the vision in his 70s. Like, I'd written down in my notes as I was meditating, I'd written down 70s. And I was like, that's cool. So I don't know for certain. There's someone else buried with him as well, his wife. Somebody Kemp, I want to say. But I could send my pal Laura would probably love a wee jolly. She used to play in the band at Dalmeny. She was in a brass band. I could say to Laura to go down and have a wee recce for me and see like what's there, what she thinks. But yeah, so that was really cool last night. That was cool. I feel like, I think connecting is probably something that I've been, maybe it's like making time for it, but also like just in the energetic space that I'm in at the moment is the reminder that I've got a whole team of people around me that are on the journey with me, that I'm held and I'm safe and I'm protected and I've got all this good energy.
Yeah.
And I really felt that, like after that I came out of it and I was like, oh. And then it was like later on last night, so after that I took Freddie out for his bedtime walk, and as we went out, like the stars last night were absolutely stunning. There's hardly any light pollution where I was, so when I went out the stars were so bright, and I just like felt this like gratitude for like the connectedness of everything, and so that was really beautiful. It was like I felt like I needed that last night. So yeah, it's been a really mixed time. It's been a mixed time.
Do you find that the tools that you lean on help to process maybe like quicker or more effectively, like the sort of the heartbreak? Like if you compare it to maybe like breakups pre using all the tools that you do.
Yeah, like I feel like it does help me process things, and it's hard to sort of like compare because I'm in such a different space now to what I was in the past. Like I think back to like major breakups that I've had, and there's like the 2 long-term relationships I came out of, they were both 5 years each, with probably about 5 years in between them. And the first one, I leaned on cigarettes and alcohol.
Those great spiritual tools.
Yeah. So after that first one, I remember my pal Louise coming to pick me up because I'd phoned her, and I was sat with a bottle of rosé wine, chain smoking out the window in my old flat, drinking from the bottle, listening to that song Delamitri.
Please tell me you were listening to Alanis Morissette or something.
No,
Who
it
what
wasn't.
were you
It was more
listening to?
tragic. It was is it Delamitri? The last to know how
Oh,
you're
right.
feeling, the last to know. And I had that song. Don't know why that song, but that was on repeat. So that was the first major one. Before that, I had like my childhood boyfriend. I was like 15. I thought that
Yeah.
was the end of the world after me and John broke up. It clearly wasn't. And then after the second one, I was in such a different place then. And I remember like, because I'd moved in with my sister and my brother-in-law and the kids. And like I cried a lot, and it was different. It was a totally different space, and I didn't lean as much on tools and stuff back then. And I was still like going out, and then like later on I started dating and stuff, and so that was like it felt like a totally different phase of my life. So it's quite hard to compare, but I feel like over the years I've developed these like healthier ways, and I think that the reason I am where I am now, and I can even have this open conversation publicly about it, is that it's the level of self-awareness that I have and the trust that I've developed within myself to trust the decisions that I make and trust that I'll be okay with the choice that I make, that I can handle whatever's coming my way and the emotions that I'm going throughout that process. And I think that the self-awareness is probably the biggest thing that's shifted. And so I think that like if anybody's like, you know, if I was to give a piece of advice, it's how can the heartbreak that you've been through, whether it's, you know, a relationship or whether it's a phase of your life, a job, a friendship, family breakup, a grief or whatever, is to look at it as how can I know myself on a deeper level as a result of this thing? How can I get to know myself and understand myself? How can I connect with myself on a deeper level and turn it inwards? Because I think that there's what I've like recognised through my own life particularly is that I've often like looked out at others and how others have felt about me or about the situation or whatever. And instead, what I find myself now, not that I'm inconsiderate of other people, but I'm like, I'm the one that I've got to take care of. I am the top priority. So it's turning it back into me, and it's like, what have I learned about this? What have I learned about myself? What have I learned about what I do want from life, about what I don't want? What did I feel like went well? What didn't go well? It's almost like a going inwards and being like reflecting on it, like reflecting on the experience and being like using it like recognizing it as an experience and reminding myself that it's not the end of the world. And I think that particularly when we go through things like breakups, like it can feel like the end of the world. And in a way, it is, because it's like, it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. Because it'll never be the same. And that's something that I've cried a lot over with this breakup, is that there were so many good times. And I know that even if we remain friends, it's different. It's a different dynamic, and it's different. You've not got that person around, and you don't share all the silly little moments anymore. And so, like, that's hard. But then it's like, yeah, the world is not going to be the same anymore, but it doesn't mean that the world has ended. And, you know, if we can look at where is this leading me, and who am I now after I've been through all this stuff, and how do I feel about myself, I feel like that's a really positive thing. This has turned into like a breakup episode. It wasn't intended to be that way, but hey, here we are.
Sort of yes, sort of no, but like I mean, there's like endings and new beginnings happen all the time, right? And I
Yeah,
think as you know, and I suppose why I asked you about the tools is like, you know, like when these things happen in life, it's like what do we lean on? And I suppose as we
yeah,
evolve over our life, like, you know, we develop better coping mechanisms, and we understand, or well, so we might not, but maybe we feel like things are stuck, or like, you know, things come back into your head years later because maybe you haven't like worked through it all. It's not been, you know, you've
yeah,
not resolved it within yourself. But, you know, I like what you were saying there around it's like coming back to, you know, how do you try and move through that? And some of it's mindset as well. Like, you
yeah,
know, like
totally.
what is the narrative that you're telling yourself? And, but it's also like the other piece that really has resonated is like, you know, absolutely it's okay for you to feel how you feel
Yeah,
with however that is. And even if it is your choice to change something, that doesn't mean to say you're not going to feel a sadness, a sense of loss, or a grief at whatever is ending, you know, or how things are evolving. And,
yeah,
you know, sometimes I just think it's important to honor that side of it, even when it is your choice to make a change, whether
yeah,
that is like you've left a job or a relationship or a friendship group or, you know, whatever. It's like, you know, it's good that you're following and honoring what it is that you truly desire and what
yeah,
makes you happy. That doesn't mean to say that you won't feel sadness at whatever has ended.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
I
think
feel
it's
like
important to share that. And yeah.
it's one of the biggest things that I've learned, especially in like developing emotional intelligence and actually understanding my emotions and how I feel and why I feel a certain way, and noticing if it's triggering anything for me, and being aware of the triggers that I've had. And it's interesting because some triggers, I notice they're not as strong as they used to be. And it doesn't mean that, like, you know, triggers aren't always a one and done, like, oh, that we heal it. But our awareness of it really does
Exactly.
help. And it's like, yeah. And it's that whole, like for me, I had a massive abandonment wound, like a really big abandonment wound from like emotionally, from like mum and dad, and feeling like from my mum when she died as well, there was like the physical abandonment that I experienced with that. And so that used to be, it had a really, really strong emotional hold over me. So when I went through a period of loss, it would trigger that wound, and it would almost be like reliving the pain of that thing over and over and over again when I went through different losses in my life. And because I've done so much energy work and healing work around that, but also brought the conscious awareness to it and seeing it and actually looking at something and being like, just because I've gone through a breakup does not mean I'm going to spend the rest of my life alone and nobody's ever going to love me again. Like, that's not what this means, Sandra. And literally having that conversation with yourself, like, this doesn't mean that you're not lovable. It doesn't mean that you're not enough. It doesn't mean that the other person isn't lovable or not enough. That doesn't mean any of these things. And it's having the awareness of the stories that are coming up and being like, that's an old story. And literally being like, okay, I can just put that aside. That doesn't need to be in my awareness right now. So that, I feel like, has been a really big thing for me over the years. And like, I just feel like I know myself so much better than I used to. I think because I feel me. I feel like I'm me now. I'm not running on old programs, and I'm not running out of fear. And fuck, that is liberating when you live life that way. When you live and you know that you are, you know, you're acting from a place of authenticity and from a place of love, even if it doesn't seem like that to others, that you're honoring your heart and you're taking action in a kind-hearted way, yeah, that feels good. And I suppose that's a positive that I can look at from going through this, is that, like, when I look at how breakups have gone in the past and stuff, this has been, for me, it's been the most loving and healthy breakup. And it's nice to know that two people who have spent a couple of years together can part ways under those kind of like circumstances and sort of be, you know, at peace with one another, or at least I feel at peace with the situation. And that feels as good as it can when you're going through a loss and a grief. So yeah, I think it's almost like it's like redefining how things like pan out. Like, things don't always have to be like angry and bitter and nasty, and like it doesn't have to be that
It's
way.
almost but weirdly, I think the side, like you're on, and I know that, when me and my ex-husband split up, it was a kinder. I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously there's always difficult bits, but like that was a just an acknowledgement that we just weren't right for one another. I suppose at that time we'd both grown apart. And I think sometimes that's harder than when somebody's perhaps done something to the other person,
Yeah,
where because anger, that sort of anger, that kind of fire in the belly, and like the FU energy that sometimes you get, if where then you can sort of like transform your whole life because you've got that kind of real fire and anger in your belly, and that can really drive positive change. But sometimes that's easier to sort of like get over because there's been an action, whereas an
yeah,
acknowledgement that actually a relationship has evolved and changed to a point where that like you're more in a friendship zone rather than in a kind of a couple type relationship. It's certainly think that's a harder thing because often like there's no resentment, there's no
yeah,
like, it's also because sometimes it also ending the relationship can also inevitably mean that you've ended the friendship. And I
yeah,
know myself personally, like I really grieved the loss of the friendship because we'd spent so long together and so many years together, and like as you say, all those little moments, the little funny things, and you get to
yeah,
know someone on such a deep level. And like the loss that you feel, I mean, I certainly felt that, and that you lean on the tools of those things because and that's just something that you feel, and it you ride waves of it. And it's not, and I suppose any sort of like ending of a friendship or a person's not there anymore, it's always tricky. But I suppose it's like,
yeah,
how do you get through that? And I think that when it is a natural stuff, is just it does become, I think sometimes that's harder because it's this the weird the sort of the my brain's having a total menopause moment, but it's like the
the brain fart.
contradictions that exist because you're like, well, but we've chosen this, and so therefore you
Mm,
think when it's come from that place of choice, the heart and the sadness and the mourning of the ending, it's like, well, why is that? Why does that exist? It's like because you're a human being, and two things
yes.
can be true at the same time, that you're choosing to move forward
Mm,
and that there is a new chapter coming, but that doesn't mean you can't feel sadness or
yeah,
more in that, or that you feel the emotions about a change, because it's like it's an adjustment. And I don't, like, my personal view is I don't think you can, even if even if you have ended something where there's an anger, I think there's a grief there and it underlies, but it's almost like there's a whole bunch of action. And then for me, certainly when I've things have ended out of that sort of tone rather than the other way, is the action really spurs me on and it gets me going and it pushes me through. But there is then but the sort of the grief and the sadness at the loss of the friendship, because even there's that there, then you start to, that comes a bit later. But I think the other thing that I'm, I suppose, witnessing what you're saying as well is that you just, like, no matter how hard you try, if to bypass actually going through is the fastest and quickest route to healing,
amen.
even though we're like, but it feels so shit. But
Yeah,
actually, like that, I think that's my sort of like lesson on things if I reflect back. And the other thing that I always sort of lean on, I remember reading something, I think it might have been in Gabby Bernstein's The Universe Has Your Back. And I'm sure there was something written where it's like the universe doesn't give you anything that you can't handle.
yeah,
So even though there's like the lessons and the learnings and everything, and I have leaned on that several times in my life, thinking okay, the universe knows that I can handle this. This feels really tricky and I feel like I'm stuck in a hole and I feel really crap and blah, 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 blah. But to remind
Yeah.
myself that the universe is like, there's something to be learned here, there's something to gain
Mm,
here, that like I'm not being given anything that I am not strong enough to deal with.
fucking right. And I often think something that I come back to a lot is like as a similar sort of ilk is that, you know, if like with my beliefs that we choose our life path, we choose to come here and incarnate in this body, and that we have soul contracts. And part of the soul contracts are with other people. Some of them are experiences that we'll go through and situations that we'll face and things like that. And then I can look at it from a lens now of how has this contributed towards my soul's growth?
Mm,
What is it that I've learned, or how have I grown through what I've just been through? And that's not to say just going through the heartbreak. That is also, what has the relationship shown me? What has it shown me about myself? What has it shown me about
mm,
relationships? How have I changed in terms of like my beliefs and what my expectations can be for a future relationship, or for even a relationship with myself? And that's something that I think is also great to look at, is that, you know, even in the loss, there's something that we gain in a sense of things. And even if that is tapping into our inner strength and the reminder that we can do hard things and that we can cope and that we can still make progress, even if it is small progress. Like something that I've been coming back to is like, especially in the first few days, was literally talking myself through the motions. Okay, Sandra, it's time to get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, do the things, make a cup of tea. Like just literally, okay, we're going to do the next thing. Okay, it's time to take Freddie out. It's time to do this. Literally talking myself through the motions and just doing the things, taking care of my basic needs, taking care of the needs of Fred, and going through the motions of that. Because I think that also, like in times of like emotional overwhelm and stuff, and when we do feel like low, sometimes we can let things slide, right? And I think that it's important that we're still taking care of the basics, that we're still like kind to ourselves and we're kind to our body and we're getting what it is we need, whether that is some time out in nature, even if the weather's shit and it's cold and you don't want to go out, is going out and getting the fresh air, walking around the block or going to the park for 10 minutes. Whether it's actually having a lie down. Like last night, I just gave myself permission to just watch some shit on YouTube. And I did it for about an hour and a half. And I was like, that's just what I needed. And that was okay. And the night before, I was like, I need a chat with Gail. And that's what we did. We had a blather. And I came off that call because we talked about, yeah, we talked about what I've been through, but we talked about all the stuff that Gail's got, the ideas that she's got, and business ideas and the podcast. And at the end of that call, I felt like I was like revigorated. Revigorated? Is that reinvigorated?
it is.
Reinvigorated.
Yeah, because
And it
sometimes,
was
as
like
you
my
say,
life
it's like
was
it's
coming
easy
back.
to, yeah, it's easy to dwell in the what's going on and actually, but
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. There was like that conscious brain, that conscious part of you that's like, come on, one step in front of the other, keep going. And then you're like, you know, something will happen and it'll spark some joy, like you were saying about the rocks, or
Yeah.
it'll help you process an emotion, or like just even thinking, right, I need to go to the supermarket, like let's get some clothes on, let's,
Yeah.
you know,
And let's get some
take care
food
of
that feels
ourselves because it
nourishing.
shows that you matter. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah, it
shows that
shows
you
that you
matter.
matter. And yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but it's, and
100%.
also like I know it's an old adage, isn't it? But time does help. And you know, and I suppose that's like the tools that we have in our life that we talk about on here are things to support us, but there's no bypassing. I think that's the other thing sometimes. And I was reflecting on it, like I know you were like, oh, this is a bit of a weird pod, but you know, this is the No Taboo Woo Woo show, and actually it's like, you know, there isn't necessarily easy paths on all of these things, and like you can't
Nah.
just bypass like healing from a breakup or something ending, or like, you know,
Mm,
whatever has happened. But it's like you can process it.
yeah.
I was going to say faster, but I think you can. I mean, maybe it is a faster thing, maybe it is a speed thing, but it's, you know, you can process. You can also look from a different perspective with the tools, whether
Mm,
that's even like the card pull, or you know, having a
yeah.
chat with a friend, or suddenly realizing that because sometimes it's good to go and speak to other people as well to remind
Yeah.
yourself of the world outside, and then that'll spark something where you're like, actually, that's given me a brilliant idea, or
Yeah.
and because I mean, I'm always a bit of a fan of, I come back to, it's like we've got choices in life, but sitting, standing still, doing nothing
Mm-hmm.
is like you're not making any progress at all.
Yeah.
And so you might think, I know I've said this before on the pod, that your choices are between two shit things, but making a choice creates that, it disturbs the energy. It creates a bit of momentum. It then presents you with new choices. And I suppose that's the thing. You can choose to sit and, let's say, wallow, or you can
Mm-hmm.
choose to mourn and feel the feels and do the thing to heal,
Yeah.
which is a different choice. You're not sitting wallowing. I mean, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, like sometimes it's like part of that healing is to just sit, feel the feeling, cry it all out, but
Mm-hmm.
then go and do something. Because actually, generally, I find like the crying, once I'm all cried out, is actually, that's a big shift for me. So even though I might have been wallowing in that feeling,
Mm-hmm.
it expends it.
Yeah.
Or it's like shake it out, do some somatic movement. As you say, go and stand in nature.
Yeah. And you said earlier, one of the things that really struck me is like that two things can exist. Like it doesn't need to be just one thing. Like you can be going through a loss in life and also find moments of joy, find moments of peace, find
Yeah.
moments of laughter even. Like there can be moments like that. And I think it's reminding ourselves that it doesn't need to be all one thing or the other, that life is light and shadow and it's this constant balance. And I think that there's a risk sometimes of, with the wallowing, at least having experienced like deep dark depression and dark nights of the soul, that's not somewhere you want to stay. It's not an energy that you want to stay in. And yes, there's a point that you need to feel your emotions. And like, don't get me wrong, I've had plenty of times where like even driving where I've literally had to pull over because I've been sobbing at the wheel and I'm like, I am not safe to drive. So I've pulled over and I've cried my heart out. I've had a big sob. And then I'm like, okay, because I live in my van, I can make a cup of coffee for the road. And then I'm like, let's make a cup of coffee. Nice hot cuppa, and then get back on the road again. And then I see a nice view and I'm like, oh my God, Lyme Regis is stunning. Do you know what I mean? It's like there can be a balance. So it's like, it's
Yeah.
not bypassing the emotions, it's feeling the emotions, but also like there is a whole umbrella of emotions. There are so many emotions you can feel and experience moment to moment. And it's almost like allowing yourself to experience them. And sometimes it's getting out of your comfort zone and getting out of your usual scenery and going somewhere different. That has always been a tonic for me, is to get out in nature and go somewhere new, even if it's somewhere local. Just experience somewhere that you've not actually been before, if it's a different dog walk or something like that, because it gives you fresh sights, it gives you life back. Nature's so healing. The other thing that I wanted to say, like, 'cause as you were talking,
It
it was
is.
like about like the like how things are, and you know that like the changes that we go through and the choices that we make and everything. And one thing that's really struck me through all of this is that the awareness that I have that there's going to be an adjustment period, that I am in that adjustment period where you're adjusting from one way of life and having somebody around to life without them in your day to day. And that feels like a really massive shift. Like, especially like for me, I was saying to Gail, like we've effectively lived in a small room for 2 years together. And that's a confined space. So you're in each other's business all the time. And to go from not having that to then just being you and the dog, where there's like no signs of like chat or anything apart from him barking at everybody that passes by, is like that feels like a massive shift for me. And it's like coming back to that reminder that, Sandra, it is going to take time to adjust, and that is okay.
This
So in the
too shall
moments,
pass.
this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And yeah, I suppose it's like then looking at, well, what is it that I feel like I want to add into my life? I don't know if I've shared this before, but there was something that I saw years and years ago that really helped me, was that when you feel like life is falling apart and when you're feeling low, add in one good thing at a time and watch your pile of good things grow. And I really, really
Oh,
love
that's
that.
lovely.
Isn't it lovely? Isn't it lovely? I'm sure the image was like of like a pile of like lots of like different items and things and experiences and stuff. And I think that that for me is a really nice reminder to come back to, because it's just like we can add in just little things. It doesn't need to be big major things in our lives. Like it can be little things like going and rock collecting on the Jurassic Coast. And the Jurassic Coast might be 5,000 miles away from you. I don't know. So maybe it's just going down to your local river and seeing if there's any pretty pebbles. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's just, it's adding in those little things that light us up and bring us joy.
To keep moving forward with determination. Leave the past behind.
Leave the past behind.
Beautiful full circle.
Feel like getting a little ribbon out and being like, okay, it's time to just like wrap that up now. And we'll just put that aside.
I know. It's been so, but you know, it's like been such like rich conversation and like practical advice as well as like and what's worked and like, you know, I know that like for me, I'm honest to say I'm not going through a breakup, but there's lots of things at the moment that I'm uncertain of and that things can feel hard and that I can feel sadness and like anxiety, and Chip, my inner critic, can have a field day. And so this is also a beautiful reminder, like this too shall pass, and that, you know, to keep moving forward with determination and to like, you know, look at the good pile and all the good things. And so it's a change of perspective. So I just wanted to say thank you for being so open and vulnerable, Sandra, because, you know, I'm sure that there are people listening who needed to hear some of this today, and that hopefully, like listening to your experience, they'll be able to see some bits for themselves and to maybe lean on some of the tools that you've suggested, but also even just the bit that you're like giving people the permission to just be like, it's okay to feel the sadness, even if this is your choice.
Yes, yeah. That feels a big one. That feels a big
does.
one. Yeah. And that can apply to anything I think that we go through in life. It's like, even if we choose to like leave a job or leave an area that we've lived in, like there is a sense of loss that comes with that, and there is a time of adjustment, the change, and to who you become in the process of it, or a re-becoming.
But we're all going to get there. We're all going in the right direction.
We are.
So yeah,
we are. Well, thank you for listening, Gail, in response to that.
No, it's been. I know. Thank you to you all for listening, and this is our first video. And I hope everybody is moving forward with determination to whatever your moving forward is. Remember the butterfly, transform, you got this. Until next time. Until next time. We'll see you all very soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, then be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get informed about future episodes. We'll see you next time.